Tonight, the surgeon, Frankie Randall, steps into the spotlight, continuing his quest for a world title shot. The number 3 junior welterweight in the world, Frankie Randall, is in our main event. He goes up against former Olympic champion Jerry Page, who has many unanswered questions, trying to live up to the gold medal of '84. Page must make his move now to be taken seriously as a pro. You'll be seeing a fighter who is on the threshold of a championship bout. He's the surgeon, Frankie Randall, looking for his 40th victory and his 34th knockout. He is waiting for a shot at Julio Cesar Chavez or Meldrick Taylor. Tonight, he'll be facing the former Olympic gold medal winner, Jerry Page, who is trying to join some of his 1984 teammates on the top of the pro boxing picture. But Page coming off a devastating defeat 2 months ago to an unknown journeyman, which has cast a dark shadow over his pro future. He did not look good in the fight against Torres, but he's a welterweight against a junior welterweight. And you see the weight. Page at 144, Randall at 140. Page with the longer reach. Keep in mind, the weigh-in was last night. So Page for this fight is probably over 150 pounds. Randall probably put on a few pounds, but not as much as Page.
At 144 pounds, as a professional, he has 10 victories, 2 losses, 5 knockouts. He is the former gold medalist from the 1984 Olympics from Columbus, Ohio. Let's welcome Jerry Page. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the red trunks with the white trim, weighed in 140 pounds. As a professional, he has 39 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, with 33 KOs. He is currently ranked number 4 in the junior welterweight division in the world. From Morristown, Tennessee, here is Frankie, the surgeon, Randall.
You see the big crowd of over 13,000 at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And they are watching Frankie Randall, who may be just a couple of steps away from a world championship fight. And tonight in front of him is Jerry Page, who we saw, Sean, 2 months ago and felt it was time for Page to hang him up as a pro, losing to Raul Torres. But Page saying that he was dehydrated. He had to lose 2.5 pounds the day of the fight. He was not himself. And right now, instead of looking to some fighters to build up his confidence with a couple of wins, perhaps do or die against Frankie Randall, triggering a big upset, certainly puts him into the picture. Even though it's a junior welterweight encounter, Page wants to fight as a welterweight, but he figures this one certainly could steal some headlines.
And he said after that fight, Al, I thought perhaps I should come back against a rated opponent, one like Frankie Randall. Maybe some contender will be taking me lightly, as he said in the open. He said it is ideal for me. Randall's going to get something that he's not looking for.
Page is 28. He had a tough time starting his pro career. Came out with a gold medal in '84. But he was waiting for the big money offers, which did not come. He was working out some deals for manager, for his percentage. He was also going to school at Ohio State, where he was majoring in communications. He had a job in the Columbus Parks Department and wasn't as hungry as you thought he might. He also had some injuries, knee injury and a hand injury. And so it took him time.
Break it up. Break it up.
Halfway through this first round. Page, a matter of fact, the first few years, took a year off in between each of his first 3 fights. So he's at the age of 28, and he knows he has to certainly accelerate his fight action.
Critical fight for Frankie Randall. Remember last week, we saw Harold Rhodes get knocked off the #1 contender position by Troy Dorsey.
Dorsey, who was ranked number 20 by the WBC.
And that could happen to Frankie Randall, rated number 4 by the IBF tonight. You were talking about the hand of Jerry Page. He hurt his right hand and his left knee. That's why he took that time off after his first win.
Page counting on the fact that he is the bigger of the two fighters. Randall, relentless. He has power in both hands, puts the pressure on. He demonstrates power and patience. One of the most complete fighters around. His losses to Edwin Rosario, that in London, a narrow decision defeat, and was also knocked out in two by Primo Ramos. As we pause now for these words from our local cable systems.
Any chance of getting the low blows? Jerry Page threw about. Yeah.
Round number 3. It is Randall in the red and Page in the white. Now, Sean, what do you have against Fruit Loops?
I have nothing against Fruit Loops. In fact, I like them myself for breakfast, but I'm not in training. For the fighter, for the complete fighter, a professional fighter, everything that you put inside your body is your gasoline, like a car. The only thing you can put in there is you don't want to put the sugar that the Fruit Loops have. You want to put protein, high protein, low carbohydrate.
And now these two fighters mixing it up in the middle. This was the mistake of Jerry Page against Raul Torres 2 months ago.
Exactly. Now he's reverting back to some of those old bad habits. This is the 3rd round. The amateur fighters fight for 3 rounds, and then the fight's over with. So he could be reverting back to some of his amateur ways. He had 130 fights as an amateur.
He fought that way against Torres because he said he was dehydrated. He really couldn't move and did not have control of all the things he was doing in the ring. What do you mean by that?
Well, he didn't have control of it because he's not using those advantages that he has. Staying in there like this, look how he's leaning over, too. I talked about in the blackboard how Randall should be ripping those uppercuts. As he's leaning over there, he's looking for him. Also, as he's leaning over, he's ducking his head down, taking his eyes off his opponent. What you want to do is look your opponent right in the eyes. The eyes tell the whole story. You can see in the eyes, you can see fear, you can see pain. You can see what many times what he's going to do if he's trying to be sneaky. You can see that in the eyes. Looking right square in the eyes.
Page says he's going to come out in this one and be Jerry Page. Boxer, puncher, and he feels that he's a lot stronger than Randall. 1 minute to go in round number 3. Our main event, the Palace of Auburn Hills. Al Albert along with the champ, Sean O'Grady on USA's Thursday Night Fights. And Page is standing in there and training with Frankie Randall.
And remember last time, Al, when we looked into the corner of Jerry Page, John Russell was telling him to box this guy. Russell told me today, he said, if he doesn't listen to me this time, he said, I'll box Jerry Page myself. You may see a little extra action in that corner.
All right, we'll stay for that, by the way. Well, you remember against Torres, we keep on alluding to that fight. Page not fighting his fight, and his corner told him to start boxing, and Page fought the fight that he wanted to, and that has been the story of Jerry Page as a pro. He's been somewhat stubborn. He doesn't want anybody to basically tell him what to do, and that's why he is 10-2 and may be at the tail end of his professional career.
Gopil, micro and departmental computers. Vive la différence.
Ek's miskien vol gries, maar ek's nie aap nie. As net een part van my kar, die regte part. Hy Spekko, hoe lyk julle pryse op skokbrekers? En filters? Wonderlik. En sitplek uittreksels? By Spekko kry jy die regte part teen die regte prys op die regte tyd.
Springbok rugby at its best, flower bombs and protests. That's all part of the Springbok saga, the modern era. Top Sport Marketing brings you the video based on Chris Cravenstein's book, which catalogues the great moments and players from 1977 to 1986. The All Blacks, the Jaguars, England and Andy Dalton's New Zealand Cavaliers defied the world to be part of this great saga. Springbok Saga, the modern era, is now available at selected supermarkets, newsagents and hyperstores.
Randall, before the fight, very critical of Jerry Page and his working habits as a pro. Said if he wants to be a pro, he's got to break out of the amateur working habits, his training.
He was in the same dressing room after that last fight. Said that Page, after the fight, was getting sick. He said right then, I thought to myself, this guy doesn't take his work seriously. He doesn't put his body through the conditioning process. He tries to go the easy route. Frankie Randall says about Jerry Page.
And that's what we were talking about, Sean, about this fight. After losing to Torres, Page now looking to make that up in one fight against a Randall. Stepping up against Frankie Randall, who he might not be ready to go against at this point, although he has certainly been hanging in there here through the 5th round. But if you take a look at the two fighters, you see Page getting very tired, and Randall could probably go another 20 to 25 rounds.
But Randall is looking weary here in this fight, much more than he was against Brown. He looked fresh against Brown, but he's staying on the inside, wrestling with Jerry Page. And the bigger man, when you're wrestling with him, he's going to get the best of you.
Well, maybe he can only go another 12 to 15 rounds. The crowd now wants them to open it up halfway through round number 5. Page doing the holding. Randall keeping active, has to be very frustrated, looking for the title shot. He's ranked number 4 by the IBF, 8 by the WPC. Now Randall in the corner, trapped in there by Page.
And Page was scoring. I was up in the ring earlier tonight. It is a puncher's ring, 20 foot inside the ropes, and it's quite slow, meaning the padding is very thick underneath the canvas. I would favor the puncher. The puncher here between these two guys is Frankie Randall. I talked about his percentage of knockout. For Page, he's got 5 KOs in 10 fights. 50% KOs for him. 2 of those fights that he has, of those 12, he's lost.
Randall, a legendary amateur out of Tennessee. Amateur record of 220 victories, 16 defeats. 5 Southern Golden Gloves titles and a silver medal at the 1980 Olympic trials. That's as far as he went. Now he's trying to teach a lesson to the gold medal winner, Jerry Page. Has not been the case so far. Seventh round action, scheduled 10-hour main event. Frankie Randall in the red trunks, 39-2-1 with 33 KOs. And Jerry Page in the white trunks, 10-2 with 5 knockouts.
And something that I was really looking for in this fight happened again. I watched it in the Roger Brown fight with Frankie Randall. He stalled in the 6th round. He did nothing. He lost his concentration in that 6th round, and he could have been taken out. This fight, he did the same exact thing. In this 6th round, he had some problems. Now we're into the 7th round. They've been working on his combinations, putting his punches together. That's what Dick King told him between rounds. Frankie Randall, I'm talking about, in the red trunks. He said the worst thing about his boxing ability, Frankie Randall said, I throw 1 punch at a time instead of the combinations.
And Page quickly tying him up, not allowing him to throw the multiple punches.
Well, he told me today, he said, the game plan for tonight, first of all, be Jerry Page. And I'm going to box him, and I expect to be a lot stronger than Frankie Randall. And he is. Randall's struggling with it. Look, Randall's the one tying up. And I expected for Randall, as we've always seen him, in excellent condition. A strategist inside the ropes. He's putting it all on the line, though, tonight. The number 4 ranking. Promises a big fight. The two exchange good left hooks.
Page doesn't want to hang in there too long in exchanges. Page, the brother-in-law, former WBA lightweight champion Hilmer Kenty. Page's sister married to Kenty. You remember him, don't you?
I vaguely. I remember his fist coming at my nose all the time. I fought Hilmer April 12, 1981.
Remember that well. That fight made Sean O'Grady lightweight champion of the world. And Hilmer, matter of fact, is here. He's working with the boxing commission in Michigan.
Now Jerry Page wanting the junior welterweight championship of the world.
Look at Page now.
Look at that.
Dancing a little bit and steps back down to 15 seconds in the 7th. Page is showing some confidence here in round number 7. And they get the last laugh after his disappointing showing a couple of months ago. Jerry Page. Instructions to jab by Hilmer Kenty for his brother-in-law, Jerry Page. First Kronk champion, and he lost the WBA lightweight championship to the man to my right, Sean O'Grady. Interesting, yesterday at the weigh-in, Sean and I were just sitting there talking, and Hilmer comes up to Sean, sticks out his hand, and introduces himself. Sean, I'm Hilmer Kenty. And you didn't even recognize him.
I didn't. Actually, what happened, he was walking in. Now, this is going to sound like a story. He was walking in, and the sun was behind the light, and I couldn't see whose face it was. Plus, Hilmer's put on a couple of pounds. Jerry Page putting some pounding on Randall, but Randall comes back with a good left hook that stunned Page.
And Page talking to Randall. 9th round action scheduled for 10. Kenty, by the way, says he wants you. Winner take all.
He wants me what?
In the ring.
To interview him?
1 minute gone in round number 9. Hilmer, though, says he looked at you and he said, at O'Grady, he's still at 135. And Hilmer tipping the scale at about 160.
No wonder he wants me. He's bigger than I am. He's like Jerry Page is bigger than Frankie Randall.
Coming down to the midway mark in the 9th round. Crowd at the end of the 8th, smattering of boos.
Oh, and the mouthpiece goes out of Jerry Page.
There's a time remaining.
The left hook. You can't count him out. Frankie Randall has the power.
In both hands.
He's also had problems in both of those hands, Al. He's hurt his right and his left. In fact, his middle knuckle on his right hand was hurt today when I looked at it. It swelled up. And that hurts. I've had my hands busted up in fights, and I can remember throwing punches, hoping the guy would duck it because I knew it was going to hurt so bad to hit him. How do you hurt your hands? Well, you're constantly hitting elbows or shoulders or the top of the guy's head. Hands just weren't designed to hit people with.
25 seconds to go in the 9th. And the crowd now getting on the two fighters. We have 3 minutes to go in this one. And when we get into the 10th, we'll check Sean O'Grady's scorecard. 10-point must system here in Michigan. And you hear the crowd's reaction.
If you've a nice old place in need of restoring, don't let it go to rack and ruin. Not now that there's Polyfiller and over 60 other Polycell products to restore it to its former glory. Polycell, beautifully together.
Traditional craftsmanship shows. When you show a little sock, show a lot of quality.
Rail Freight and Topsport has teamed up to bring you athletic tests for the first time in 23 years. Don't miss the excitement of international athletics during the coming 3 meetings and 2 tests. Rail Freight and Topsport's International Athletic Series, November the 7th to the 21st, live on Topsport.
Your round, your round. 10th round action, this is it, the final round. Let it all hang out in this round. So far, I've got this fight scored 5-3-1 for Jerry Page.
Whoa.
Close fight still.
And they are both slugging to start the 10th. And the left moves Page back. Randall may have heard Sean O'Grady, who says that Randall has to knock out Page in this 10th round. I disagree.
These fights like this are so hard to judge because there's so much holding. There goes the mouthpiece again of Jerry Page.
Why do you say
he's got the mouth open?
Why do you say Page is in front?
Because he has, well, there's 4 things that these judges are looking for. That's what I'm looking for. They're looking for the effective aggressiveness, defense, clean punches, and ring generalship.
Well, last fight, Jerry Page says, I was not the same Jerry Page, and we might be saying that about Frankie Randall tonight. Not the Frankie Randall that's 39-2-1 with 33 knockouts, and on the threshold of the championship fight. We saw it happen last week when Harold Rhodes, the NABF champion and the #1 contender looking for a fight against Jorge Paez in the featherweight division, lost to Troy Dorsey, who was ranked number 20. And now it is Randall, who never felt he would be in this position. Now the referee, Bob Fisher, is bringing Page over the doctor, who is checking a cut, I believe, in the mouth. Page doesn't want to take the mouth protector out. He is bleeding profusely.
From the mouth. Now, the mouth should not be a problem.
And we continue this 10th round.
The mouth really shouldn't be a problem because the blood doesn't bleed, obviously, in the eye. Now, it could be a problem for breathing.
Well, could his jaw be broken?
Could happen. He's got his mouth open, and when you have your mouth open like that and get hit on the jaw, it will break.
And that certainly should intensify the final minutes. Randall looking to put the injured fighter away, and Page trying to survive. Page may agree with Sean O'Grady that he's in front and doesn't want this one stopped here with 50 seconds to go.
I'm also impressed with Jerry Page being in this fight still in the 10th round. After seeing him in his last fight with Torres, I haven't expected this much from him.
As hungry as you have seen him as a pro, huh?
Yeah, eating those Fruit Loops. And I wonder how many of those judges saw his fight with Torres.
Well, after tonight, he may not be chomping down on those Fruit Loops for a while. Down to 25 seconds in the fight. No knockdowns in this fight.
Nice left hook by Page. That hurt Randall.
Throwing everything he has left. Page probably would not be able to go one more round. But he will finish it as he goes 10 complete against Frankie Randall. Jerry Page, after a very disappointing loss 2 months ago against a journeyman, Raul Torres, has something to build on here tonight.
And here's the scoring as seen by our judges. Bill Miley saw it 96-93. Frank Garza Jr. scored it 99-90. Rosemary Grable saw it 95-94 to the winner by unanimous decision, Frankie Randall.